Hey, aloha, Usos. How you doing? The Ula Ohana, how y'all doing? Alright, so this is my very first DPS build for my ESO videos. You know, I don't typically play DPS because I just don't hit the numbers like a lot of the people on YouTube do. Like, the fucking anything over 50k is just crazy. Like, people are way too skilled for me. But, you know what, I decided to share this build. You know, this build is really good for people who aren't, you know, so they don't have the same, you know, finger dexterity on console, so you just straight up button mashing and alternating between a few skills and then just remembering to buff every like half minute or so. And you know, I really like this build, you know. The more enemies there are, the more damage you do, which is something I really enjoy. So this is really good in like large trials or just places where there's a lot of enemies in general. So mahalo so much for tuning in. Let's get started. Alright, so Dragonknight for your class, right? And for your two races, I would suggest Orc or Dark Elf. Either one will work just fine. You're likely not going to see a huge difference in endgame. Now, if you check out the stats here, the sustain, right, in terms of the recoveries are actually quite bad. So there's things that you'll have to do for this character before you can even think about going into battle. So you want to put all your attributes into stamina first, okay? Very important. And I would say have a Mundus stone, have the warrior, you know, to increase your damage even more. I would say for your food, any tri-stat boosting food, but Artaeum takeaway broth, right? And here I'm just casting my buff to kind of show you the buffed stats of the character sheet. So after using my buffs, it goes up a little bit, you know, it's a little more acceptable, but if sustain is a huge issue, then Artaeum takeaway broth and stamina potions should be used. Now in terms of your gear sets, your front bar is your Titanic Cleave, right? That's your main AoE spammable. And for your back bar, you want Merciless Charge, right? So as you can see, I'm going to show some gameplay here. Merciless Charge says that it'll deal an additional 6,300 physical damage over 6 seconds, but it's not actually 6 seconds. It actually lasts a little longer because of your critical charge is doing damage already with its morph, right? It causes enemies to bleed and it leaves like a little earthquake, little AoE dot on the ground. So it's actually a lot more than 6 seconds, and it does a lot of damage for just one hit. Now, Pillar of Nirn is one of the other sets you can get in Falkreath Hold, and it's a really fun set to use. I really like it. Basically, just you're dealing a dot all the time, every 10 seconds to an enemy. Actually, it's an enemy and anything 2.5 meters within that enemy, so I think it's really good. At any time, if you need to see like the traits and the glyphs, you know, feel free to pause the video to see. And then the final set is, you know, the meta set, the New Moon Acolyte set, where you're just increasing your weapon damage and your critical and your penetration. Very standard for a lot of DPS builds. And make sure to craft this set only on chest, waist, hands, legs, and feet. And make sure to craft them on medium armor so you can take advantage of the medium armor bonuses for your clothing. Now for your front bar, you want to have Brawler from your two-handed skill line, your main AoE spammable, also a damage shield when you use, and more enemies gives you more of a shield. Dizzying Swing from your two-handed skill line as well. It's a very strong single target attack. It hits like a fucking truck, and it sets enemies off balance, which allows you to hit enemies even harder. Now, Noxious Breath from your Ardent Flame skill line, which is your AoE conal dot, and as well as a really nice debuff for large groups of enemies. Venomous Claw from your Ardent Flame skill line, and it's a single target dot, and it gives you 20% more damage each tick while inflicting poison. Camouflage Hunter from your Fighter's Guild, which is a bar buffer, only slotted for the extra critical percentage, that's it. Now Ferocious Leap is your ultimate from your Draconic Power skill line, and it's a heavy hitting ultimate, which stuns enemies and it gives you a damage shield after casting. Now for your back bar, you want to have your Green Dragon Blood, which is a very expensive burst heal, but you're mainly using it for the major Fortitude, Endurance, and Vitality, right? you're never going to be able to sustain that heal. Now, volatile armor from your Draconic Power skill line, which gives you major resolve. It's a mild AoE dot, right? And it returns damage to enemies who directly attack you within melee range. Molten armaments from Earth and Heart, which buff you and your team's damage by 20% and increases your own heavy attack damage by 50%. Barbed Trap from your Fighter's Guild, which is not shown here, but it's mainly used to gain your critical damage, right? Your minor force, and it's a very decent dot as well. And your Stampede, which is your main back bar AoE damage burst dot, which is always a critical strike and it hits like a truck too. And this is a flex spot. Right? You can put anything you want here. And for any of the passives, if you need to see, just pause right here. And yeah, basically maxed out a lot of the trees here. And never forget your racial. So if you're an orc or a dark elf, make sure to max that as well for the extra damage. As for your champion points, I think these are the main slottables that you should have for this character. Not set in stone. If you like something else, feel free to put it, but, I focused on AoE damage as well as some stamina recovery and just weapon damage in general. Your skill and combo rotation, you want to go to your back bar, right, and pre-buff with Molten Armaments, Volatile Armor, and Green Dragon Blood before heading into battle. After you have those casted, you want to start your attack with your Barbed Trap and your Stampede, ideally targeting large mobs of enemies if there are. If not, doesn't really matter. After pre-buffing with all your skills and using your Merciless Charge and all that, you want to switch to your front bar, and you want to cast these skills in the order shown. After casting your Venomous Claw and your Noxious Breath, you want to alternate between your Brawler and your Dizzying Swing. Weaving in light attacks if necessary, if you know how, and heavy attacking if you need to restore stamina. But you're just essentially alternating between the two. And then anytime you need to rebuff, rebuff. And that's basically it. There's really nothing much else to say about that. Alright, and that's basically it. So I don't have any crazy gameplay here. I just some clips that I have that I saved. I can't really run the hardest content because I don't have a lot of experience with DPS in general. So here I'm running some normal, single player content. Here I think it's the Battershrine Hollows in the Reach, if I'm not mistaken. It was a pretty hard dungeon for me. Maybe not for a lot of you, but I'm not very good at DPS, right? So, and as you can see on the bottom, some of the skills that I use have changed it up a little bit for this dungeon. So, mind that. But yeah, I really apologize for not posting more frequently. I know I missed the last week. Just got a little too busy, so I really didn't have any time to edit videos. And it takes a lot of effort to edit this crap, so. Here, if you figured I'd try something new, show a DPS build. Probably not as good as the popular YouTubers. I don't even know their names. It was a hack. I forgot their names. But if you want better builds, you probably want to go to them. But yeah, I thought this was pretty good. You should run this in a trial or anything that just has mobs of enemies, and it's absolutely amazing because the damage you can deal is just ridiculous. Here you can see if there's any enemies that stack close by, they're basically going to drop. That powered with a lot of your dots, some of the proc damage on the sets on this thing. Merciless Charge did get nerfed a little bit, but it still works really good. And it's great, it has AoE, so it kind of replaces the Maelstrom Bow or the Thunderous Volley, in my opinion. I think it's a lot better. It just lasts a lot longer, you don't have to pay attention as much. So yeah, that's basically it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe you picked up something useful from this video, maybe not, but if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Mahalo. Take it easy, guys. Aloha.